introduce you?
Sure, go ahead.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's all ladies here, gents here. Ted Kidd. Known Ted quite a few years. If you guys are familiar with the Home Comfort book, Nate Adams and Ted Kidd have developed a process that is not salesy. It's about solutions, which I think fits into Wise Home Energy's core values that we're not looking to um, trick people into buying stuff. We're about showing them about their homes and offering them solutions for their home. So Ted has a system and we like systems. So without further ado, Ted Kidd.
Thank you. So Jeff is a founding member of HVAC20, and he has actually a founding subscription, which means that if you use his account, you can get access to our tools at no cost to you. If you want your own account, our initial, when you set it up, it's free for 3 months, and then there's a $6 a month maintenance fee. So you don't need a credit card to sign up. But if you keep going after 3 months, you'll need a credit card. And then with a basic membership, it's $10 a report. And this is my first presentation. I put together a little summary here. What we're hoping to do is make the report something that you always use with a homeowner. And the way we see the report being used, it needs some improvement. We'll talk about that. Is sending it after the visit. And one of the things that our process and the report does is it attempts to responsibly avoid responsibility for client decisions, which goes into, victim, villain, hero, guide. What we really want is to allow you to be the guide at your sales calls. So anyway, I got into home performance in 2008, and I didn't like the sales process I was seeing. It was primarily shoot from the hip, over promise, under deliver, and always be looking in your rearview mirror for unhappy or angry clients. So I, Eric Baller, and a slowly growing group of extremely knowledgeable and talented HVAC guys who also think a better sales process is needed, have been developing the HVAC 2.0 process. It's been a long time. So HVAC 2.0 is a repeatable, ethical, technical sales process for HVAC and home performance contractors. Currently, it's broken into three main branches: the free quote, the comfort consult, and the comprehensive planning process. The comfort consult and comprehensive planning process have been successfully deployed for over 5 years now. And a few years ago, it became apparent that these are niche services, and we also needed a process for the 90 to 95% of homeowners who just want to replace their HVAC. So we developed the free quote process, which is a specification building process, built it into the software, and are currently working on taking the report to minimum viability for broader deployment. This is my first time meeting with a group about this, so I'm interested in finding out what you guys think about our current sales process, about your current sales process, closing rates, and job sizes, and understanding what barriers and concerns would prevent you from implementing the HVAC 2.0 free quote process. There's a link here for setting up an account. It's app.hvac20.com/users/join. And some of the questions I'd like to have you guys answer for me today is, what is your current sales process, and how much of the process do you document? I started doing this with a fillable PDF in like 2009 or 2010, because after having a visit, there was so much information the homeowners were giving me that went in one ear and out the other. Documenting it helped me recall what happened at the visit. And I asked a lot of questions. It was at that point, it was like half an hour to an hour worth of just sitting at the kitchen table talking to homeowners. But typically the people that I was dealing with were people who had really significant problems controlling their homes. So they had basket case HVAC and basket case shell. Um, so one of the things we discovered is the whole process of properly performing an HVAC replacement or home performance sale is backwards. Instead of being thoughtfully finding best solutions for the client, it's generally about making a sale that works best for the contractor as quickly as possible. Instead of coercively attempting to tell homeowners what to do and buy, turning homes into science projects, doing blower door load calc, truing to energy use at every house, making sure that you have airflow after the equipment is sized and delivered, we found that starting with questions and education and offering different level of load precision is a better fit for most homeowners. Instead of being the expert, the HVAC salesperson role is to be the guide. Our process educates the homeowner about information crucial to avoiding creating big problems and choices they have at equipment replacement that can often solve existing problems. Ironically, doing this leads to much higher revenue and profit per lead via larger sales, higher closing rates, and better margins. It also leads to happier clients, fewer callbacks, and better reviews. So the other thing I'd like to know is what the biggest problems you guys are seeing. The biggest problems we saw is equipment that is oversized to ductwork. And that's a real problem after 2019 when everybody's got ECM blower motors. If you ask a replacement prospect if they're open to spending $15,000 to $20,000 on new ductwork, they'll usually ask if they can avoid doing that. If you educate them about the problems of oversizing to the duct, generally they want to size equipment to the limitations of their ductwork. And if you have a process that documents this education, if they oversize, it becomes their problem, not yours. So as part of our free quote duct pressure step, we have modules in our sales process. We offer a range of duct diagnostics, starting as simple as visual assessment, going all the way through full measure quick and true flow. The next problem is that people don't have a replacement specification for you to bid to, which leads to a race to the bottom. As part of our free quote process 6 functions video and replacement tables step, we help people build a replacement specification that's best suited to their needs and budget. And if they're shopping, it will help them flesh out contractors that can bid to a spec and those who are cutting corners. We also almost never see undersized equipment. When we do, there are obvious enclosure deficiencies that need to be solved. Think house so bad it doesn't matter what HVAC you put in, the problems are not getting solved by HVAC alone. We always offer a comfort consult, so they have the option of a very accurate load calc. But if they decline, we provide a module called likely load range, which shares load of houses their size. And we show where their estimated or measured duct capacity constraint is. If we don't have duct capacity, we encourage sizing in the green third of the likely load. Because if that isn't sufficient, generally the house has deficiencies that should be addressed. So what's your current sales process? And how are you feeling about your profitability per lead. What is your profitability per lead?
I don't think we know what our probability is per lead. I
That's
think-
the right answer because profitability for lead, like we just look at average sale, right? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah. I mean, my sales process is I talk to the client the whole time I'm there. I don't try to go in and sell somebody a furnace. You're trying to treat the home before you treat the furnace. I tell everybody all the time, if you just do your furnace now and you don't address the rest of the home, either on your next furnace or you scratch off a lottery ticket and win a bunch of money, and you want to insulate the home, you've now oversized the furnace and it's a waste of money.
Right.
There's a whole gamut of things that go into it.
Okay. Do you have a questionnaire where you document their answers?
Sort of, kind of in your notes page, like in our folder.
Okay. Do you have a situation where they've been overloaded by the visit that they don't really recall all of the things that you've discussed? And then they sort of put it on you that things haven't turned out the way they had hoped?
That part's rare, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we've had, I haven't, or maybe, you guys haven't either. I don't know. I'm pretty in depth with people.
Okay.
We don't actually really get a lot of complaints of something not going the way someone thought when it comes to HVAC, but we're also not the oversized company. I mean, we're.
Right.
We tend to be the people that fix the problem for people. When they're not, because they're calling us because they had something done in their house and we couldn't fix it. So we do chase after a lot of bad work. Fix things.
So they're calling you because they had somebody else do the work before, and so now you're coming out and correcting.
Or they self-diagnosed and assumed that they needed a bigger furnace and went to another company and said, I need a bigger furnace, and they did nothing except put a bigger furnace in, and that wasn't the right solution, kind of stuff.
Okay.
One of my biggest issues with our market rate clients is they usually, more often than not, will say, oh, I just had somebody else do this furnace and they see 6 months ago. We're there, we want you now to fix our house with insulation and air sealing.
And we don't want to replace the equipment
And
again.
just bought $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 worth of HVAC equipment. And they always say, oh, wish we knew you did that. That happens to me frequently.
Okay.
So I would like to get those clients before they put those,
Yeah, right.
that extra 10 grand into their house.
But also on that note, to do that insulation work, sometimes we'll do that insulation work and now we're left, so to have that information out to them, that. Because people always think it's linear. Oh, you cut my air leakage in half. I'm gonna save half on my energy bill. Absolutely not.
Right.
And then are we bringing up the humidity and now that's gonna alter the system. So
We just tightened your house up. You had oversized equipment before, so it's going to be even worse now, which is going to mean even shorter cycles, which is less dehumidification. And this is where the 6 functions video is really helpful because it helps people understand load matching, and it helps them understand mixing. Like if you're gently conditioning the whole house, those far rooms that were uncomfortable before are likely to get comfortable. And one of the things that we found is the problem that I was continuously faced with is the home performance industry is do the house first. And having a do the house first orientation, particularly if it's an equipment replacement sale, puts you at a disadvantage. And so this process actually works pretty nicely because it says to the homeowner, particularly if they're not going to do a comfort consult, you want to replace your HVAC first. Let's get your HVAC right for a good house, a typical house your size, get the right size, and at least don't oversize it to the ductwork. And then if you have comfort issues, Then we can do the home performance. And a lot of homeowners like that. They're like, I'm willing to, I like the idea of taking a path that if I've made bad decisions, I don't have to replace the equipment a second time. So it allows you to, in many or most cases, dramatically downsize the equipment. Under the homeowner's assumption that their house isn't a basket case. And then later on, if they're like, yeah, there's still some concerns, you can start with prescriptive, like visual recommendations, even without a blower. You go into a crawl space that's not encapsulated, you're like, well, you got a lot of leakage in this crawl space. There's a lot of humidity coming in or coming up from the crawl space, which is going to make it very hard for you to control your relative humidity. So without modeling, I can't give you an idea of how much the impact is going to be, but this is the kind of thing that people don't regret doing prescriptively. And then you might also be able to suggest an attic encapsulation. Hey, you got some ductwork in your attic, or you got a lot of penetrations to your attic, a lot of can lights. What we found is when people encapsulate their attics, all of the attic problems associated with your house, including the fact that you don't have a lot of insulation up there and the attic is 150 degrees on a really hot day, and little tiny vents that are designed to help mitigate moisture problems aren't helping your load. Because a lot of people seem to think that ventilating their attic is going to help their load. So this will help your load issues. This will help those hot upstairs rooms be not so hot.
Are you giving people the information that shows that analysis of why you're choosing that system? Because otherwise it would seem that you're undersizing the system so that you can upsell them on another service that they have to pay for down the road.
That's a good question. So let me try and break that question down, and maybe I'll walk you through the report, because the report will help you understand that you're not recommending the system. They're picking it. Okay. So you're just coming and saying, hey, people aren't aware that there are systems. And this is where the 6 functions video is really core, because the 6 functions video helps them understand different equipment. So you're going to say, if you're going with single stage equipment, you're going to have less comfort. And we're happy to sell you whatever equipment fits your budget or you're comfortable with. And what we're doing is we're not coming up with a recommendation. We're helping you be educated enough that you can develop your own recommendation. That's, you make the homeowner the hero of the story and you're just the guide, as opposed to coming in as like the expert. I know what you need. I mean, it's absurd because you don't know the house anywhere near as well as they do, and you're never going to know the house as well as they do. And so you really need them to be partner in the design process, where they're qualified enough based on their experience and the information that you provide them to have a conversation with you about these things.
You're educating them about the pros and cons of each choice, and then they're deciding what they feel is the appropriate solution for their needs, with resolutions to problems that might be coming up down the road if they chose the wrong side.
Yes. Yes.
So would it be beneficial to kind of see that process? Because I may have distributed that 6 functions, but should we watch that video and see the process, or what?
Yeah, I can show the video. Let me go through the report first, because I have it up.
All right.
So everything starts with the one question. And the one question is there anything that your old HVAC system didn't do that you were hoping your new HVAC system will do? And that's a crucial question because to document, because later on, if they're like, oh, I have this problem or I have that problem, instead of you feeling responsible for the problem that they are now telling you they have, you're in the guide position. So you're back to helping guide them to solve the then current problem that didn't quite get solved. Does that was a lot of words. I'm not sure if it made sense.
Does that really work though? Like if you take the places, you're the guy. And then that homeowner chooses the mid system. But then later on, he has an issue in the home and he thinks it's because he chose the mid system. He's still, you don't think that he's still gonna blame me?
No. Ronnie made $370,000 last year, and he had a couple of callbacks. This is where getting this report really dialed in is going to be helpful, because the report is going to get emailed to the homeowner after the visit. And right now, what's happening is Ronnie's taking the report to the homeowner and reviewing the things that were discussed at the visit. And then he's putting all those safety or those protection items in the contract. Like, talk to a homeowner about the fact that they're only getting 2.5 ton of capacity because they only have 2.5 ton of duct. And so 2.5, and they didn't have, and it wasn't 2.5 ton wasn't undersized before. So we're recommending a 2.5 ton, and they chose to replace the 4 ton with a 4 ton. And we warn them that the newer equipment, particularly if it's short cycling, is not going to dehumidify as well as the old equipment. I mean, really, there's a lot of things the old equipment did. If you oversize the equipment, you didn't get more capacity through the ductwork, but you got better dehumidification because that coil's running colder. So what he's been doing, and Austin and the other guys, is they've been sort of loading the protection, the responsibly avoiding responsibility mechanisms into their contract. And I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot of people who are qualified to do that. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it automatic within the report of the free quote. And so we're going to have at the bottom of, like, after the first question is the comfort quiz, the 4 questions. And it's hard to read here, but do you have hot rooms? Do you have cold rooms? Do you have health issues? And do you have moisture or pest problems? Those are the 4 questions. And they give you details about those problems if they have them, and then they rank them. And so when you go back, you say, these are the things you said you had, and this is what you said you were hoping the new equipment would do that the old equipment wouldn't do. And a lot of times they say, no, I wasn't expecting it to do anything different. And then when they call you back and say, hey, I'd like this to be better, why isn't it better? Then you're able to go and say, well, it isn't better because those aren't the smiley faces you chose. So this is the comfort quiz. And then the next stage is likely load range and duct pressure. So here you see, like, this is a 2,000 square foot house. Likely load on that house is somewhere between 2.5 and, 30,000 BTU and 108 for heating, and 1 and 3.5 tons for cooling. Now, the problem here is you have sufficient duct for just below 2.5 tons. So even if you go with a 3 ton, you better go with 2-stage equipment and hope that it's running in low stage most of the time, or you're going to burn up your ECM blower motor. And in Ronnie's contract, he says if you oversize the equipment to the ductwork, you don't get your labor warranty. And you also risk not getting your equipment warranty because the manufacturer is going to decide whether they're going to warranty that motor. And the manufacturers are sort of clamping down on having equipment not installed to specifications. So if you do a 3-ton on this house, you're not installed to specification for 3-ton. You might be within specification for the lower stage, but we didn't lock it in lower stage. So, and then this is the duct pressure thing, and so what we're going to be doing is below sort of the standard narrative associated with each of these steps. We're going to have a notes stage where you can put the notes that, Ronnie and the other guys are putting in the contract. You can put it right in here so that when you're reviewing your visit a year later. So Austin had a situation where he had followed the process and the people chose 2-stage equipment. And they knew that they were giving up the opportunity for reheat dehumidification. And he had said to them, well, you may find that you have humidity issues. And if you do, you're going to need a ventilating dehumidifier. He was all worried about this visit because he felt all this pressure. Being the hero, he felt this pressure. I'm like, well, when you go, make sure that you review the report with them and what you talked about a year ago. And he called me back later and he said, they bought a ventilating dehumidifier and they were really happy with me. So it's all about really doing a good job with your communication and where you put the communication in the visit, but then also after the visit. And we don't like putting so much responsibility on the salesperson to put those disclaimers in the contract. And a lot of HVAC sales guys are afraid to even do that, frankly. So this is a place where they can put those disclaimers as they're being discussed. And then, I mean, you're in 200 to 300 homes a year. You're not going to remember. So this ends up being your go-to for you to recall how that visit went so that you can actually, if they say, well, I was hoping it would dehumidify better, you say, yeah, I understand. A lot of people feel that way. And this is why we always recommend a carrier green speed with reheat dehumidification. So you decided you wanted to go with a hybrid, and hybrids don't do that. You got to go straight heat pump to get the reheat. So, or however that situation unfolded. And so after this part is this, which is your 6 functions choices. So you're actually, after they've seen the 6 functions video and they understand sort of what functions that they'd like, things that their car can do that their house can't, they'll go through this. They'll be like, okay, so single stage is going to give, if it's a hybrid, it's actually 2 stages of heat and 1 stage of cooling. The size is 60,000 BTU on the furnace and 2-ton on the heat pump or air conditioner. Filtration, humidification, dehumidification, fresh air, IAQ monitoring, and then here the smiley faces say whether or not this equipment's going to do load matching, mixing, dehumidification, filtration, or fresh air. So you chose no to all of those things if you got single stage. And then the 2-stage is going to give you, up to 3 stages of heat or 4 stages of heat if you get 2-stage furnace, 2-stage heat pump. And then the range of output, 40 to 60,000, 2 and 1.5. And the media filter. So it all ties back to the smiley faces from the 6 functions. And then we always, if you did a modulating heat hybrid, you're not going to have the greatest smiley faces in dehumidification, but modulating equipment is going to do, as you know, it's going to run longer and it's going to throttle up and down. So it's going to dehumidify better than a two-stage or a single stage. And by offering the top of the line and helping them understand the price associated with it, you've offer declined them. And that offer decline that they decline is that is the key to your having responsibly avoided responsibility. They opted out. Now, carrier green speed is going to be too expensive for some people. Like the people Austin went and saw, they didn't have the budget for the better equipment, and they needed heat and cooling. So they punted that risk of the enclosure and the equipment. I think he might have also encapsulated their crawl space at that job. But instead of dealing with an unhappy client, he was dealing with a client who now wanted to address the other areas and could afford to. So this, you also want to put price range, because when they're going through the smiley faces, they're also thinking about budget. And so they're going through the exercise of, these are the things I'd love to have, these are the things I must have, and this is my budget. Because I mean, a lot of people are going to be budgetarily constrained, not being able to do the whole kit and caboodle. You're probably seeing that a lot in home performance. Like, I got this 2,000 square foot house, it's leaking 6,000 CFM50. Ideally, it'd be leaking at more of a 1-to-1 square footage to CFM50. But, it's $35,000 to get it down to 2,000. So that blows my budget. What home performance measures can we do to get to between 3,000 and 4,000 CFM50? You get a house below 2-to-1, it starts being pretty controllable, even with two-stage equipment.
Is this going to work in the reverse fashion where obviously good, better, best, best? The more money I spend, the more problems I'm gonna solve, but you're gonna have houses where the good solves all the problems. And the best makes problems worse, right? Because you're oversizing, you're adding in features you don't need, you're doing all this stuff. Or is this always just gonna tell the story that the more you spend, the more problems you're gonna fix?
Best is never oversizing. Best is always going to get them more of the smiley faces.
So best could be the lowest price option on here.
No, best is always going to be a green speed. So, and I don't think that, does anybody think that a single stage is ever going to be best?
Maybe for a shack in the woods.
It's going to be best fit. It's going to be best fit for them. And so they're going to, and really what we're doing is we're just funneling them at each of these steps. And so this is a funnel that helps them. They'll look at it and they'll say, oh, $20,000 to $25,000. I was thinking, 13 to 16, but I suppose we could go up to 20. And then they'll look at the smiley faces and say, yeah, I want to reach up to 20 for the additional smiley faces.
What are you considering hybrid equipment? What do you mean by that specifically?
Hybrid is generally going to be, well, it's combustion equipment and a heat pump.
Oh, okay.
But it's generally going to be a gas hybrid.
Right. Yeah, I've never called it hybrid, so that's why I was curious.
Dual fuel. So like fit, if you sell Daikin Fit, looks beautiful in this. Because it has so many of the smiley faces, all it really doesn't, it's a communicating heat pump. So the only thing a Fit really doesn't have is reheat dehumidification. So, and it's going to cost the same as a two-stage. And then when they have humidity issues, well, probably your humidity issues would have been solved with a green speed, but we can come back in with a ventilating dehumidifier, whole house dehumidification.
And a green speed and reheat dehumidification is really a system with a cooling, a coil, and then an electric auxiliary heat strip after it. So it dehumidifies and then reheats the air.
Today's a beautiful example because there's very little load. It's like 72 degrees outside, but it's high humidity. And so most people aren't going to be getting a whole lot of cooling. And there's a really good chance that if you have, the other thing we suggest is that when you're talking to people about managing relative humidity in the house, that range be between 20 and 50%. Because you go above 50 and you start to get your VOCs start to go up, your dew point risk starts to go up. All of the things start to go bad. I mean, they start to really go bad above 60. But if you say 50, then they'll manage it to 55. You know what I mean? So you're responsibly avoiding responsibility by telling them they're the operator of the house, not you. And so they're responsible for operating the house. I can tell you should change your oil every 5,000 miles, but I don't have control over whether you change your oil every 5,000 miles. So if you blow your engine, you haven't changed your oil in 25,000 miles, it's not on me. So some of these things are when you go a little bit deeper and you may or may not already be using them, but that's within the training, because there's a lot of training and a lot of videos on our YouTube that you can go to and you'll be like, oh, so, and to get to higher levels of performance in the sales process, we recommend everybody get the Ultimate Sandler, because the Ultimate Sandler helps with the mindset pivot to guide. Because a lot of these things that we've baked into our process are not intuitive unless you have Sandler. And if you have Sandler training, you're like, oh, that makes sense. I remember when David said, this or the, whatever.
So on your report with the likely load sizing, is that certain data inputs that we put in and that spits out the likely load? Is usage also involved in that data input?
No,
Okay.
usage is
strictly-
not.
Strictly
You-
just,
Right. You could true usage
Mhm.
if you wanted to do
Okay.
that check, and depends how much time you have to spend on your free quotes.
Mhm.
If you start doing load specific to the house, you're starting to take responsibility for load without getting paid to do the load.
Okay.
And that's why we suggest that Comfort Consult be, you want us to take responsibility for the load, we need to do all of these things, not part of them. This is the minimum amount of modeling, diagnostics, and design that we're comfortable telling you what size to pick.
So what goes into that range? Is it square footage?
It's square footage, zip code, and whether or not they've got a crawl space, slab, basement, 2-story, 1-story. It's very basic. Right, it's not full rights after treat. It's more like, what are some of the other load?
Cool calc,
It's cool calc or,
EDS.
well, EDS load as opposed to EDS
Okay.
auditor.
There's a duct size one as well, right? Range for your ducts. That's based off of current system size that's existing?
No, so if you take the static pressure on the current system,
So
you know where you are, and then there's a calculation. If they have a PSC motor, there's a calculation. If they currently have an ECM motor, there's a calculation that helps you understand where you're likely to end up when you downsize.
So at your free quote, you're talking to the homeowner, you're getting information, you're generally taking a quick look at the house maybe, and then focusing on the HVAC, doing a static pressure test.
So,
That's about it.
so you're not even doing the static pressure test unless they pay you.
So I'm not giving them this report.
You're giving them this report, but a lot of the guys I mean, if you look at ductwork, you're like, oh, that's 2 ton of ductwork. So, I mean, these guys, or they pull out their tape measure and they're like, okay, this is 2 ton of ductwork. But if you pull out any tools beyond a tape measure, you need to get paid. Because now you're taking a little bit of responsibility for what the homeowner's decision is ultimately going to be.
So that current duct pressure, where it says 0.7, is not gonna show up there
It'll show up there because right, it won't be
specific.
a specific number. It'll be more like, and that's a good catch. So what we need to do is put an estimate on what the duct pressure probably is.
And then say you get down the path, you give them these 4 options and these different sizes, maybe.
Well, ideally, what they're going to do is they're going to be like, I don't have static pressure, so I don't really know where there's insufficient duct. So I'm going to size to the green.
Well, what if the green is, okay, so they got an 80,000 B2 furnace right now, but the green is really a 40,000 B2 furnace. And then for code, you're supposed to run heat load calculation. You know?
Yeah, but you can make that heat load calculation, say whatever you want. I mean, there's so much in a heat load calculation that's guessed, not actually measured. I mean, this is my guess. I'm going to guess until it tells me
Yeah.
80,000.
At some point, though, it comes back to the practitioner's responsibility for sizing that system. Because I'm running the load and saying, this is what you should.
This is what you had before, and this is what you wanted. We have guys that are selling about $40 million worth of equipment a year using this process.
I'm just looking at some of the details and specifics. Like, will code come back and say, you're the contractor that installed this, you installed the wrong size because it's not meeting the heat load of the house, or the homeowner doing the same thing?
So we've had guys that have been sued. And one of the most interesting ones is they got into court and they got 2 other load calcs. And one of the what got installed was 2.5 ton. And one of the load calcs came back at 2 ton and the other came back at 4 ton. The judge looked at that and said, oh, you can't be held accountable for your load calc being off by a ton or 2 tons because you didn't have enough of the information to do a really accurate load calc. And so you get into this loop of you chose not to get a comfort consult. And so we did our load calc the same way code requires load calcs to be done. And the precision of that type of load calc has so much variation that if you wanted to let us know more about your house, and we talked about this, there are some visuals that you can do to reduce your load. And you didn't help me by helping me understand what your duct constraint was because you weren't willing to pay the 20. I mean, it's 25, but you offer to do static pressure for very cheap. And then if you have Measure Quick, you're even better off because you're able to say to the homeowner, Measure Quick has a nice report. And it basically tells the homeowner how much capacity they've been getting out of their old system. And so you're able to say, and then this is helpful too. If you do it, you're able to say, yeah, the house isn't keeping up, but that's because you were constrained by how big your equipment was. And you said you didn't want to spend $15,000 to $20,000 on new ductwork. And the new equipment won't allow you to be within specification, install specification, unless you change the ductwork at that size. So this is why you need it written down, because there are so many little micro things that you need to have documented. And if you don't know all those things and do all those things, you can't come back afterwards and have the conversation where the homeowner is like, oh yeah, I did take responsibility for that. And what really happens is you don't get sued. What really happens, because even with the dishonest homeowners, this has happened to Ronnie, and it's happened to Reedy, and it's happened to all these guys, even with the dishonest homeowners. You've put them in a Chinese finger trap. I offered you this equipment, you chose this equipment. You're complaining about this smiley face, which was a frowny face on your thing. I told you that this is likely to be a problem. I told you that the equipment, the new equipment's not the same as the old equipment. So get like for like out of your head. You know, and it's important to educate the homeowner from the homeowner's perspective. If you don't educate them about these things, I think it's justifiable that they blame you because they didn't know better.
That goes back to your first question of what do you want your new HVAC system to do that your old one can't, right? Or doesn't. And most people are gonna be like, it's fine, I don't know, everything's cool.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't know it can do these other things. So you educate them at that point? Or do you just?
So
Here you go, single stage.
now I'll go to where you wanted to go because it takes me back to, this is the report page. I'm going to go to, this is the 4 questions. You know, this is the client page. Okay. And here's the 4 questions. Here's the free quote questionnaire and the free quote measurements. So the first thing is you go through the questionnaire and you ask them questions about how their current system's performing. Because when you ask that first question, that's not enough of a, that's to get their answer before they've been educated. And then you ask these questions and now they're educated and they're like, oh, thinking back on that first question, there are things. Or thinking back on that first question, there aren't.
Something that's sent to them and they fill it out themselves, or are you filling this out as the?
Right now, you're filling it out. We're going to have a client side. And there actually is a link to the 4 questions so that they can build themselves as a client and be thinking about that stuff in advance. And you can send them the videos in advance too, so that we suggest that you always show the videos to them when you're there, because then you know they watch the videos. One of them's a minute long and the other's 4 minutes. So it literally takes, I mean, you've gone to the house, you've spent a whole lot of energy asking them all these questions. That those 2 videos are really crucial to know that they've seen them. And so this is like thermostat settings, problems during different seasons of the year. And then the free quote measurements, which you can get to and use this for the $6 a month. You don't even need to buy the report. But this way, at least you have the client in your account. You just don't get the report, but you will if you use his account because he's a founder.
Just clarify, for $6 a month, I can go in and I can do 50 of these things.
Yes,
And if I want to print one report, I'll $10.
it's $10.
Or it's Jessica.
Huh?
It's Jessica.
Right. So you put in your square footage, 1 or 2 stories, crawl space, basement, or slab. With a zip code, it'll come up with your heating and cooling design temperatures.
I'm sorry, that was a question?
No, that's so when you put in their address and the client, It automatically goes and pulls the design temperatures. And then it calculates your heating system size, likely load range. You put in the current size, calculates the cooling system size, likely load range.
On current size, if it's two-stage, you're putting the low stage, how do you? You got a two-stage 70 and it's fired at low on 56, you put 56 in as their low?
If they have it locked on low. If they have the equipment locked on low
Okay.
and that's been sufficient, you put in 56, yeah.
But typically they don't have a lock, so you're gonna put it at the higher end.
Typically, they don't have it locked, so you're gonna, you're gonna wanna know that too when you're taking static. Because if it's locked on low, it is a 56.
Yeah.
And it's doing 56 of airflow. Well, I guess you go to the coil, because then so this comes up here. And this is where you would estimate static pressure as opposed to measured. But what's the source? Static pressure, measure quick, true flow, visual assessment, or other. And so that'll just pop in here.
Side of the colors.
Which colors? I don't even remember. I think this might have been something that Nate came up with and found yeah. And then these are movable. I mean, you can have this report look however you want, and you can add and delete lines and stuff.
So do we edit the dollar amounts that we want to put in there?
Absolutely. I mean, you know what your price range is if you install a fit, right? You're going to want to know what your price range is for, if you have access to Carrier or Bryant, you want to know what that is. Otherwise, Heil now offers the full line. So you can get a full green speed from Heil. But one of the things that's happened is they've made the 5-stage so significantly better since this refrigerant change that, well, so here it depends. If you're gonna do straight heat pump, there's better cold weather performance from the full green speed. But if you're doing a hybrid, there's really no justification for the full green speed. Because the step down is a lot less money and it still is going to perform down to 20 below. It's just going to cost a little bit more if it gets below 15 degrees because it's not as efficient. So, I mean, and this is where the whole like energy savings conversation, people seem to get obsessed about that, but how many people do you know spend more than $2,000 a year, even on a basket case house, on their whole energy expense? And that's not their heating and cooling. So if their heating and cooling is, 60%, they're really spending $100 a month for heating and cooling. Like, how much were you hoping this was going to help you pay your college tuition payments? Yeah, well, let's have a little conversation about that because I want to make sure that your expectations a year from now, when you get your energy bill and it's not writing a check to Harvard for you, it's.
They were forgiven.
So we suggest you always offer fresh air. There are things in here that we suggest you always offer because there are things that most houses benefit from. And that's like fresh air, better filtration, continuous operation that the modulating equipment could do. Like in the Carrier, you can set the fan Oh, you can program the fan. Even when there's no load, so it's running at low, medium, or high, which will, in some houses, that'll help with mixing.
How are you educating the customer on each of these things? As
I'm
benefits?
I'm sorry, I gotta go to the videos, don't I?
Hi.
Let me,
I might not have sent it to Eric. I think I sent it to the other guy.
let me see where these videos
I send him a lot of videos. I'm sure they drown me out.
are.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
So I need to go into here. Yes. And so the other thing is put the videos in your signature. Because then you have further responsibly avoided responsibility for the education step.
There's a free pro process video that we would want people to see.
There might be, yeah.
If you're
I
watching
haven't
this,
looked
you're
at it in a long
probably
time.
considering a new heating and cooling system for your home. A well-installed system is likely to last 15 to 20 years. If your new HVAC was a newborn, it would be graduating high school before you buy another one. If you choose incorrectly, typically the only way to fix it is to replace it again. That may sound scary, but you already know everything you need to know about HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning from your car. Every car with air conditioning can do 5 of 6 things that every HVAC system should be able to do, but most home HVAC systems can't do any. Let's take a quick look at what those are. First is load matching. By far, the most important factor in creating a comfortable space is matching the amount of heating or cooling the HVAC puts out to what the home or car needs at that moment. Every car can vary how much heating or cooling it puts out, as well as the fan speed. Meanwhile, over 80% of home systems are oversized, single stage or single speed systems, meaning they are either on or they are off, making temperatures race up and down, which leads to poor comfort. Second is filtration. When you drive, there's a lot of garbage in the air: car and truck exhaust, pollen, road dust, and so forth. Your home needs to keep those same things out, plus filter out pollutants inside your home. Every car has a high-performance filter that helps reduce pollutants getting into your car. Most homes have mediocre filters with far worse performance, where the pressure inside the duct system is too high to use high-performance filters. Third is dehumidification. Typically, the most important factor in creating a healthy environment in your car or home is keeping the humidity in a healthy range. By pushing the AC button in your car, you can have dehumidification 24/7, 365, but very few homes have this capability. Keeping humidity levels in check reduces the spread of disease, helps prevent mold, mildew, and odors. And this is particularly important in spring and fall when the air is damp, but not much cooling is needed. Fourth is fresh air. Every car can bring in outside air and heat, cool, or filter it. This helps the air smell fresh. It reduces the spread of airborne diseases and is an important factor in indoor air quality. Few homes have this capability. Fifth is mixing. In your car, you can mix and stir the air to keep you comfortable depending on the season by sending it to your face, feet, or the windshield. Mixing the air reduces room-to-room temperature differences in your home and can provide continuous filtration and fresh air as well. Most homes have an inefficient fan motor that makes this noisy and expensive to do. Sixth is humidification. Adding moisture to the air is the only thing that your car can't do. Dry air is uncomfortable, it leads to dry skin, increased dust, and can promote the spread of viruses. Every HVAC system should be able to do these 6 functions: load matching, filtration, dehumidification, fresh air, mixing, and humidification. Every car can do 5 of the 6 functions of HVAC well. Most home systems can't do any. In case having control over some or all of these conditions is something you want your new system to be capable of, work together with your HVAC 2.0 contractor to choose the path that works best for you. If you'd like to learn more about the 6 functions of HVAC, see the HVAC 101 guide linked below or ask your HVAC 2.0 contractor about it. In 2019, the Department of Energy mandated a more efficient type of fan motor in all new furnaces. This well-intentioned policy is causing problems only 2 years later. Here's why. Your furnace fan and ductwork function the same way your heart and blood vessels do. Blood pressure should be just right, but often it isn't. If blood pressure is too high, you could have a heart attack. On your HVAC system, blood pressure is called duct pressure, which is the pressure inside the ducts. The mandated motors are far more sensitive to duct pressure than the old type. If the duct pressure inside your system is just right, it will be quiet and use very little energy compared to the old motor. If duct pressure is too high, your new, more sensitive fan motor may be overworked and die in less than 3 years, which can cause an expensive repair. Even if the fan doesn't die early, they are often noisy and expensive to operate. Most systems have high duct pressure and carry some risk of early failure. If you are considering replacing your HVAC system, ask for a duct pressure test from your HVAC 2.0 contractor to understand your risk and how to reduce it.
You kind of send a link to each of these topics in your email signature.
It's in my, the email signature has those as the first 2 links.
So if a customer would benefit from an ERV or something, you would,
No customer benefits from an ERV.
from some other suggestion.
We just use fresh air as we just use scuttle. Sometimes they're fan powered, sometimes they have powered dampers so that in the hottest weather they close, because you're gonna be dumping a lot of latent in really hot weather, and so you might want your fresh air closed on a 95-degree day. And that could be programmed. But it's by having it come into the return, you don't necessarily need to fan power it because the return is going to be negative. And then it will go across the filter, so it'll be filtered air, and then it'll go across the coil, so it'll be dehumidified.
Good stuff.
How do you? I don't know where we were. How do you set up reheat dehumidification?
So
Just from like timing wise and certain times of the year, what triggers it to turn
So
off?
backing up, where does reheat dehumidification come from? It comes from your HVAC system, or is it an add-on like a ventilating dehumidifier?
it's from, well, so I know a guy that's done it using Haven
Okay.
on a Goodman. The problem is if you do something like that, you really need to know what you're doing. His wife has asthma.
Mhm.
And so when relative humidity goes above 60, she has asthma attacks.
Mhm.
And so using the Haven, he turned on his heat pack.
Mhm.
And if you set that level too low using a system that's not really designed to do that, you're going to see a pretty high energy bill. So what he ended up doing was he ended up adjusting it to trigger on when it goes above, I think he said 62 relative, and then trigger off below 57. And by doing that, it went from like $100 a month to $5 a month. And the key for him was she's not having asthma attacks. So he doesn't like, again, we recommend that you tell the operator that they should operate their home within 50 and 20% relative humidity,
Mhm.
but that's for responsibly avoiding responsibility. If they end up running it someplace out of that spec, that's up to them.
Mhm.
And, you know, if it solves your problem and you're not having problems, great.
So this is a humidistat setting typically.
It's a humidistat setting, and the carrier, you have to set up the thermostat specifically for that, and then it will automatically trigger it. And it only works in cooling mode, so there's some finicky stuff associated with getting it. I mean, the bulletproof way of managing relative humidity is a ventilating dehumidifier.
BRV, yes.
Ventilating dehumidifiers, because they will get you the fresh air that you need, and you're not going to have any problems unless the house is really tight. But even if the house is really tight, the bath fan and the kitchen fan have dampers. So that'll be the exhaust flow. Most houses have enough leakage that pressurizing the house a little bit's not a big deal. And actually pressurizing the house in our climate's not a bad idea, because now you increase the drying potential of the house, the seasonal drying potential. So you're not worried about condensation in places you can't see it. Because that dry air is going out as opposed to coming in those areas.
I would love to sell more ventilating dehumidifiers. I've been here for 4 years and I sold one to one guy, and he had a really bad humidification problem. Nobody else. I've proposed them many times.
Yeah, so it's an offer, not a propose.
Yeah,
Offered them.
but it's a nice CYA,
Yeah.
especially once they watch the 6 functions.
All of these little subtle, like, really, it took 15 years, because we're like, oh, here's a problem that we hadn't CYA'd, and so we built it into the process. It's really nice because it creates a process where it's an equal relationship with the homeowner. You know, you're both in an adult place.
That you're not out there selling.
I'm not out there selling. Well, but I talk to Ronnie almost every day.
How Ronnie must also have us a regular estimate on this one people too. Then.
He uses this for everything.
So, this is it.
This is it. They have, I mean, he works for a big company. So they have, Service Titan, and they have Price Book Plus.
Well, I'm saying there are going to be customers that don't even want to do this, right? Not even want to like sit down. They just want you to come out and say this is fair estimate for a new heating system.
We're happy to give free estimates if you have a specification. Do you have a specification?
ERB.
No, I mean, equipment replacement specification.
Like for like, same size. Yeah.
What do you want? No smiley faces, like exact like for like. It's totally good. That's like, they do that. That's a worry-free sale.
Well, most people are gonna presume that the furnace that's in their house that's no longer working should be replaced by an equal furnace, and never think that it was not sized right for their home. Don't think about their ductwork, don't think about humidity, don't think about anything.
Exactly.
They're just
Oh,
calling to
might
say,
need to be
"My
bigger."
My furnace is getting old, it's making some weird noises, can you come replace it?
Mhm.
And then they call up afterwards and go, oh, no, it's not as comfortable, it's not as hot. it's not as-" know.
You own all of my comfort issues now because you didn't ask me the one question.
But you would have to sell them on doing the free estimate to,
You don't have to sell them on it. This is our process. If you just want us to do a bid, give me the specification. I need something to bid to. If you don't have a specification, what do you want me to bid to?
Right.
And are you getting other bids? Because if you don't want a specification and you're getting other bids, show me another bid and I'll bid to their specification.
I just want your recommendation. You're a professional.
This is the process I use to give you a recommendation. I don't know anything about you or your house, and so you need to help me understand a little bit about your situation.
Yeah, it's like a doctor and they say, you know what, you should eat grapefruit. But they didn't find out you're on a blood pressure medicine and you're not supposed to eat grapefruit if you're on a blood pressure medicine. There's not enough information to provide a diagnosis.
When they say we just want an estimate, you say we test, we don't guess.
So, but then you lose them. If you go to absolutely, let me look at your specification and like, oh, I don't have one. Oh, would you like to build one? And then everything funnels into the free quote process.
I think that's kind of the key thing that we could use, and probably a lot of other people, is just how do you talk to a homeowner about that initial visit or call, right?
And that's Sandler training in our videos. Yeah.
Your training videos or your HVAC 2.0? Because there's got to be 1,000 hours of some YouTube videos.
I'm going to need to do some way of like splitting out the Monday meetings from the educational stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went through the
That's a
whole.
good
There's one
point.
whole session there where you had like about 13 that.
Oh, the subway map.
Is that what it was? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I sort of went through that. I think I got through all that.
The subway map was a way to explain to a homeowner, like, this is the process that you can follow.
But
And-
you guys did it in your monthly meeting, right? Or weekly?
Well,
meeting?
it's in the, yes.
Okay.
But it's also PDF.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And it sort of outlines to homeowners the decision process. Because if they have, as you're interviewing them, if they have some significant problems, you're gonna want to lean a little harder on them doing some diagnostics.
So with the free quote, you're given ranges of, here's your good, 10,000 to 12,000, here's whatever. How many people come back and are just pissed off because you don't actually give them the quote? You know, like what's my actual?
So one of the things that you want to actually do as part of this, and this is getting into sort of deeper black belt stuff, is I need a specification to do pricing. Pricing takes me a fair amount of time. We give one free quote. If you want 10 free quotes, that's all. That's like a day of my time. We don't do that. So we need a specification to bid to. And if you want a bunch of quotes, you need to pay me for the quotes.
So if someone comes back and says, I want the better option, right? Here's your free quote. I want to go with the better option. What's the step then? Okay.
Then what you do is the other thing you want to do, which is also a Sandler thing, is it's called yes, no, no, maybes. When we give you the bid, we want you to decide. So when you're ready to make a decision is when we give you the bid. And so if you're ready to pick column 3, I'll come back out and make sure that everything makes sense to you. And we'll bid the quote at that point. Now, if you're going to have other quotes, make sure you get those other quotes first. Because when I come back out, I'll review those other, you can hide the price. You don't have to show me the price, but I'll review those other bids and we'll talk about what may or may not be included in those bids. Because when I bid, I don't want to lose the job because somebody looks cheaper, but they're not changing the whip or the line set or they're not putting the new unit up on a box or not using a new pad. We're happy to cut those corners, but we want you to instruct us to cut those corners as opposed to you not knowing that we're cutting those corners. And so I'll come out and we'll work that stuff through when you're ready to make a decision. And if you're last to bid, your closing rate goes up.
Every sale is a two-site visit.
No, most aren't. But that's where you could find yourself. Actually, what happens, typically every sale is. The other guys didn't talk to me about any of this stuff. They just went in the basement and looked at the box. And so they've instantly been disqualified because you use this process on them. Because the homeowners like having this information. They're over and over again, they're extremely grateful for just the 6 functions and the static pressure videos. You know, also asking them about comfort issues, asking them about health issues, you know, getting an understanding of who they are and are you going to stay in this? Look, you want all the smiley faces, but you're only going to stay here in this house for another 3 years. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because carrier green speed's not going to make the incremental cost of a carrier green speed, you're not going to get back in better controlling. You're not likely to get back in better control, better comfort, and a happier living experience if you're only going to live here another year. You've been living with single stage up until now. And the incremental cost of that, you're not going to get back at sale because the buyer is going to look in the basement and they're not going to know the difference between a single stage and a modulating heat pump. So like typical homeowner is going to look and they're going to see new equipment. They're not going to know that it's garbage. So you're not going to be able to ask for more for the house because you got this beautiful Rolls Royce in your basement.
So what would we do when we put the wrong equipment in a home? Because they went with a cheaper option than what was the right thing.
What do you do now? You're not. You're selling only carrier green speed?
No.
It's not the right, you're never selling the right stuff if you're not selling carrier green speed.
We're also not recommending equipment that won't fix the problem, like we're not going out there to put in something that's subpar.
So
We're not.
if you're monitoring with Haven, I believe you. If you show me all the houses never go above 50% relative.
We never give the base option, but we're solving. That's what problems there are to solve. Sometimes we'll test air quality and we'll recommend a fresh air duct, but oftentimes they say, no, I don't want to do it. And then that's, oh man, once we offered it.
That's the key is once you start doing these things and having them offered every time, you can go back when they have that without that feeling of looking in your rear view. You're like, I know I covered this. And so you go in there on an equal footing as opposed to apologetic.
I think some of the hard stuff is say, like, I would always want to say, you know, based on my experience, or I think you should get, or, you know, if you want to be able to control this, you need this.
Right.
When you really, like, you don't know.
No, the smiley faces sort of take some of the responsibility for that away too. As you're like, well, you know, this will be because like life is in a range. There is no perfect, you know, and all of these people that are if you're only selling better equipment, you're probably getting them all above the range where they're unhappy. And that, but
Shit right there. Life is in a rain.
life is in a range.
All right.
So,
the
and we
software
also do
walks
recommend,
your way through, right?
yeah, and we also do recommend that you always offer things like Haven. Because a lot of times people will call with like a specific issue, and you can go and say, when did that happen? And you can go to that day and you can see the indoor air quality, and you can see the temperature, and you can see the relative humidity.
Yeah.
And then, have an understanding of how the equipment's running. And if they don't give you that level of insight, then when you're talking to them, you say, well, so I'm just guessing because I don't have data.
Yeah.
But if you want, we can put the Haven in now and you can keep track of when these problems occur. So if you do ever have a problem where somebody calls, Haven actually has air device level of equipment now where you can just
Yeah,
leave it in the house. Doesn't cost $5,000, costs like $200. You can charge them a fee for the service if they don't buy the equipment.
nice. Wanna try one out, Eric? I got a Haven somewhere. I think I gave it to Ryan.
It's in my basement.
You put it in?
My
Or it's
basement.
like just laying in your basement?
Sitting there.
You guys
It's out-
offer
it's
a
out of the
report?
box.
Is it like all my exercise equipment?
You offer a report with that if you put it in someone's house?
Haven has reporting.
They have like an app.
They have an
So that would
interface,
be them, but not from you, right?
not from us. No.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Yeah, we're trying to get to minimum.
I didn't pick up on it.
We're trying to get to minimum viable. Thank you, guys. Your questions are really helpful.
I have a sort of, it's not a question so much as just a thought process about how, as a home energy company, we don't prioritize HVAC. It's not that we don't do it, and it's not that it's not important. But so we're looking at everything. How do we go to a customer, in your opinion? I guess it is, here's the question. And they don't have the $50,000 to do all the insulation work and the HVAC work. Where then do we, as a company, I guess it's a question for us internally, but prioritize, they spend that, I mean, it's their decision, but we don't want to help them make a bad decision. Yes.
So we're doing kind of like fairly comprehensive audits, right? Testing and diagnostics and suggestions and stuff. Typically, is what you're talking.
Typically,
So,
correct.
we're the hero in this story, not the guy.
And
Right, but I
would go
think-
back-
But I
would
think
go
you
back to
could
what
be
you
the
said.
guy.
It would go back to what you said earlier. Size it to what you want the house to end up at.
Size it to what a good house
Yes.
would be. And if you, on the 2 hottest days of the year and the 2 coldest days of the year, you're uncomfortable and you want to not be, then we'll come tighten the house up.
So your approach is right size the HVAC, if you have to choose between one or the other, start with the HVAC and then finish
The,
with the.
the idea was most of these problems get solved after doing lots and lots of houses. And we did a bunch of case studies, and you could go see our case studies because they're published. It became apparent that most problems are solved with better equipment choices and better sizing. And then we also run into the constraint of the equipment is improperly sized for the ductwork. And so really, like, everything's around the equipment. So how do we take what used to be, because when we first started doing this, we were just getting the worst houses, basket case houses. And so the house had to be fixed. And then people really liked their houses, and so they wanted them fixed. And the people that were rich, we didn't have any luck with, because they just throw money at stuff and they don't pay attention, and they're only in the house so much and all this other stuff. So there's this group of people that are sort of middle class and can afford, but they're choosing not to buy a new car. They're going to fix the house instead. And that ended up being kind of where our market was. And we found that a lot of times they wanted to do the HVAC first. And that put us in an uncomfortable place, because where is this house eventually going to go? And we didn't want responsibility for undersizing a basket case house that they end up not fixing. And what was poignant to me is the very first furnace Nate ever sold was a 60,000 BTU two stage, replacing 120,000 BTU furnace. And this was to people who were also going to spend at the time like $14,000 doing enclosure work. So they were going to significantly tighten the house. And they did significantly tighten the house, but the furnace went in first. And then his design temperature in Ohio was like 5 degrees. And then suddenly we were getting one of these Arctic vortexes that was going to be 20 below for like 4 days straight. And so he had little brown turds coming out of into his shorts. And he called them during the Arctic vortex. They said, this house has never been this comfortable. So we started to realize that our assumptions around sizing were really perverse.
And you hadn't done the envelope yet?
We didn't do the envelope till that summer.
Wow.
So, and we found that the best market is for HVAC replacement. That's where you're going to get your revenue. Yeah, and so if you can lean in and not tell people, oh, not only am I going to, oh, so you could get this $25,000 HVAC equipment, or you could get this $12,000 HVAC equipment and $20,000 worth of shell work. And now you've harmed them because they don't have the great equipment. Because you told them they had to do the shell work in order to downsize the equipment. And so now they're getting less good equipment because they also feel like they got to do the enclosure with the equipment.
I think that's where I find myself oftentimes.
You often find that you're like, no, they can't afford to fit, so you're selling single stage.
Well, not never singles, never.
Or, right, but
Wouldn't you think it would make more sense to? I mean, it'd be like saying, well, I want my egg to have a crack in it because the yolk tastes better.
so
I got lost in it.
That's right.
That's
That's high level.
You lost me.
I'd rather have my building shell be 100% the way it could or should be. And then to me, the equipment doesn't have to overcome or be as important. Like, why do I want to spend 30 grand on a high-end piece of equipment when all the insulation in my house wouldn't cost 30 grand and I could have a smaller heating and cooling system?
okay, so what are you going to do about the 6 functions?
Give them 3.5.
Give them less of the 6 functions?
Yeah.
Because on the one side, you're going to have not as good a shell as you could have, but you're not ever doing gut rehab, so they're still not going to have as good a shell as they could have. And then on top of that, you're like, so you're being the hero is the problem, is you're like, I want to come in and make this house great. And why? We're going to have them have really good fresh air, filtration, dehumidification, humidification, load matching and mixing. They want the great experience in the house. They don't care how tight it is.
Well, they might care, I've got ice days that have issues, right? Or I have high energy bills and I want to reduce those.
Okay, so when they say high energy bills, do you ever ask how much they want them reduced by?
I do.
And what do they say?
They don't know. They don't know.
Okay, so how valuable is saving $10 a month to you? Is the question that helps for you in your situation. If they're like, oh, I really want to save that $10 a month, you're like, okay, so that'll be 20 grand.
Yeah. But is it gonna save them more than $10 a month by leaving the building shell?
No, it's gonna cost more.
Right.
It's going to cost more to be comfortable. So how much are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay $10 more a month to have these 6 functions and all, and have your home just be kind of amazing? Or do you want to save the $20 a month by doing the great equipment and the great home? Because it might cost a little bit more. And depending on where gas prices go, if gas prices go down, and electric prices go up, and you're doing heat pumps, no matter what you do, their energy bill is going to go up if you convert them from gas to the heat pump. But what we found is people are doing heat pumps. And they don't care. They want a heat pump because it provides better comfort. And if the energy bill goes up a little bit, that's fine. I mean, I think what ends up happening is they think it makes them look smart to say they want their energy bill to go down. It's a tell. Because it doesn't make them look smart. It makes them look stupid. $10 a month for $20,000 worth of work.
Sign them up.
But you know too, like tightening a shell is gonna raise humidity levels hopefully in the wintertime, if that's a goal of the house, right? Or lower them in the summertime.
Yeah, and if it's a leaky house, if you
it's uncomfortable rooms potentially, right? Unless you're doing some duct work.
well, might or might not fix uncomfortable rooms, because a lot of times they fix the shell and the house gets more uncomfortable. Which is a thing that we've run into, is like, and there you really have to, like, okay, now you need really good HVAC, because you have these comfort issues that are HVAC related.
Yeah, and so if you think about that in terms, it's a 6-month-old furnace, you could send them this with their robust insulation. And show them likely out oversized, and
It's going to be worse.
that could be a problem. And insulating is only gonna make that sizing worse.
Well, I explain that to people.
And
when I
it's
get to a
dangerous
house
to
that's
send
newer,
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things
But
we
here,
found,
this gives you a little CYA.
what we found is you will be replacing your old equipment with this process, and you'll be surprised how much it happens. Because people want the problem solved. And if there's no way to solve it without replacing the equipment, eventually they're like, yeah, I'm at my wit's end. I made a bad decision. I'm going to put that bad decision in the rear view.
For the people that really have a problem with driving nuts, right? The 7s and 8s on the score, what your issues are.
Yeah. So, and this is why the scale is important, because you need to make sure that it's pretty high pain level. So if it's low pain level, well, pain is going to correlate to budget in almost all cases.
I gotta revisit that house where that whole attic, the whole furnace and all the ductwork was up in the attic, and they had horrible ice dams and air leakage and stuff like that.
Did you redefine?
No,
You air sealed though?
we didn't do anything. I
That's
gave
what
them,
I was
that's the
doing.
one I wanted to drop the whole furnace into the house. And it would have worked for them, but I would like to, I kind of want to go back and approach it with a different mentality and see where they are. Because she was very adamant this had to be fixed.
Really?
Yeah.
So this is where, like, you don't even have to use the software, but you could use the process in your
Right, that's
thinking,
what I'm thinking.
because you could say, if you absolutely want this fixed, if you spend 70 grand, I'll guarantee it's fixed.
I was thinking half of that.
But right, because then you redefine the attic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to revisit that. I'll have to go back there.
And then replace the equipment too, because now the load is, because equipment in attics, that unconditioned attics.
Yeah.
Like that's 30% of your load.
Oh, yeah, that.
So you're gonna be dropping the load at least 30%.
Yeah, there was all sorts of duct leakage you were dumping it there.
So when I first started working through this, my perspective was, well, you got to fix the house. And it took a long time. It's shorter for some people than it took me, but I was like in love with home performance. And So I was always like, fix the house, fix the house, fix the house. And then I realized really just want happy clients. So what's a way that I can go out and get a lot more sales and a lot more happy clients? And I think that process is, equipment first, but not, but I needed a way to make sure that they size the equipment for a great or a good house. And then this duct thing in 2019 is like helps enforce that. And I actually met a guy that was selling HVAC and always sizing his equipment to the ductwork. That's what he did to size his equipment. Sized it to the ductwork. I think the risk associated with that we mitigate with our process. Because if you find that your likely load range is whacked for the duct size, once in a while you're going to run into a situation where people have to replace the duct. And this should expose that so that you're like, you're way out of range here on your likely load. Because he didn't have any kind of load calc. And I would want at least likely load. If that makes sense.
I think because of rebate programs in a way, we have to continue to look at the whole house, look at peak load requirements, meet demand, demand for the house. So I mean, all this is good stuff, but we shouldn't abandon home performance and what we've kind of been doing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but how does this get integrated?
That's sort of what I'm.
Well, I think that
It's more of like
for the furnace, it's a home run add-on. It doesn't take much to add this in.
as we do more sales calls and less audits.
Sure.
And we'll get more calls for HVAC. It's just more in demand than insulation.
Do you do audits without a blower door?
Rarely.
Okay. So I would use likely load. If you ever do any kind of an audit without a blower door, I would definitely use likely load.
Yeah.
Because the problem with doing load calcs, in my opinion, is they suggest a level of precision that doesn't exist.
We typically do our loads calcs and then subtract percent. So we're pretty accurate.
I mean, even if you reconcile to energy use, reconciling to energy use probably helps you understand leakage. And so if you do a reconciliation to energy use on a house that you're not able to do a blower door.
Do you have a good calculator for that?
So if you go through so there's three trainings really. There's the free quote training. These are all in Kajabi. And so it actually trains you how to go through the software and some of the thought process behind the whys. And then after the free quote training, there's a Sandler training module. And the Sandler training module is pretty amazing because it helps you with mindset. And then after that, there's a comfort consult training. And in the comfort consult training, we have a pretty thorough module that talks about how to do the reconciliation.
This is the free quote contractor training.
Yes,
Send me an email.
sure.
Did you attend any of
Is
those
he like
meetings?
Snuffleupagus?
Ronnie,
No, I used to.
so there are two people that have been trained to do comfort consults that I wasn't the lead trainer.
Mhm.
Ronnie is one of them. Jeff Howard trained him.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And Austin's the other one. And then there's one other person that on the planet that I didn't train, and his name is Ben Baptist.
He's a Protestant.
He learned from the Kajabi training, the level 3 training. He took the course. And
Oh, you have a course on this? Is that the one you
Nate
talked
put
about?
a huge amount of effort into these training courses.
Oh, is that the air leakage course?
It's on the same platform.
Oh,
But not the same thing at all.
Kajabi, it's in Kajabi.
The air leakage,
Yes, it's in the same, the air leakage course is his course. Did you do it? Did you guys, one of you?
First after.
Okay. Yeah.
I air seal in my sleep.
I have a lot of air leakage in my sleep.
Yeah. So, and you fall in love with what you can do to houses, particularly the bad ones. But it's impressive. So one of the things that we've done is
Jack boy.
there's a leakage to square footage ratio. We call it layer. And it helps you understand how much of an impact air sealing is going to have on a homeowner. And if you get below 2, it starts to have pretty small impact. If you get above 4, you kind of need to let them know that their comfort issues aren't going to get solved with HVAC alone. And this is the reframe in your brain, like put HVAC first. Put HVAC first. How do I put HVAC first? Put HVAC first. But if you install the wrong furnace because people don't want to do that much air sealing or don't want to do air sealing, make sure that you got enough ductwork. Otherwise, you're going to own that furnace. And if they sue you and the duct isn't sufficient for the furnace, they're going to have cause.
Are you talking supply in return or?
If you don't have your static pressure below 0.5 on new equipment, you might want to revisit what you're doing.
You've not tested every system we've installed, but I don't think we've ever been over.
So
I'm
And
the
that's
king of
awesome.
40. Yeah. I'm like
It's
the
nice,
Schlitz-
isn't it?
I'm like the Schlitz malt liquor guy. Just grab me another 40.
Yeah.
This is something now.
The other thing is, well, I lost the train of thought.
We'll get 2 splits. That's commercial.
Hey, do you want to be on the radio show?
What do you mean?
Want to donate to the BPC?
Wow, it's a month.
Hey, you want to pitch your HVAC 2.0 on my radio show, Ted? I might be able to get you on.
So we have a
Turn that down.
we have an
Like an oversized.
we have an affiliate program. So you get 30% of the first 3 years revenue for anybody that uses our process that you've recommended. You got to get 5 people before you qualify.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4.
Oh,
Are you using your process? Is it as simple as paying $6 a month?
Yeah, so you get $2 a month.
wait, let's wait.
Yeah. That's not really money here.
Okay.
Cool. I'm glad you came in, Ted. I want to
Thank you, guys.
see this because I've seen it and I come in and blather on in the morning in about 30 seconds and they look at me and they're like, you either had too much coffee or not enough coffee. So it's hard to summarize in 30 seconds. It's better to.
So how do we figure out how to make this so that it works with both HVAC and home performance if you're going into a home performance lead?
Well, I think the email links make sense, setting them right up. Wish we had a HubSpot where we could see when they open them up.
We do have one.
So, but it's there, yeah, if it's there, it leads, we might just have to copyright it. I like it.
No,
um,
just create your own bit link or
Oh, you
whatever.
can? Alright.
So it's just a YouTube
Okay,
video.
I'm not that bright. Alright, yeah, but that would be helpful, just get that information and then, a couple things there, it's, geez, this is different information than the other contractors I called, so it starts there. And it's not much to go with the free quote report, I kind of been on the more the peripheral of the comfort consult and that, looked like a heavier lift. And more time consumed, everybody's struggling for time.
How long do your audits take?
Um,
2-3 hours.
yeah, 2-3 hours.
Anywhere between 1 and 3, depending on what you're hitting.
So.
And that's just the audit.
So if you're doing an audit, you might want to look at the Comfort Consult questionnaire. Because you may want to add those things that are missing to your questionnaire or use the Comfort Consult questionnaire. And again, it's not going to cost, well, if you want the report, do it in his account. And you won't have to pay the $25 for the Comfort Consult report. But one of the things the Comfort Consult report does is it communicates to the homeowner odds of success. In that way, you're not guaranteeing. You're just saying the more you do, the better your odds of success. And so one of the things that after doing a bunch of them, we saw that if people were budget limited, the odds of success were increased by replacing HVAC as opposed to doing the home performance work. It's surprising how few homes really qualify as basket case in Lair.
Well, the profitability on HVAC is way higher than doing the envelope work, but
Yeah.
it's also a bigger investment for the homeowner to lay down money for HVAC than for insulation. So,
But they gotta have HVAC. And you want to make sure that you ask how long they plan to stay. Because once they tell you that they plan to stay 15 years, oh, that's a long time. It's a long time to be uncomfortable.
yeah.
People who die in sweat.
It's a long time for your kids to have asthma. Long time, whatever their problem is.
Yeah, I think it's easy peasy, and I think it's bought a lot of furnaces and we're in the homes looking at the envelope and tightening up that envelope is gonna alter that home and the way it performs.
Do you ask if they have any intentions of doing an envelope work when you're doing HVAC quotes?
Typically, if they come in for a heat pump, we usually say you typically want to make sure your home is well insulated. You maybe need to look at your envelope first. We're not comfortable putting in a heat pump in this home.
Okay, so don't ever say we're not comfortable. We're happy to do a
We
heat
are?
pump. Here's your
Okay.
likely load range.
All right.
What size do you want?
5-tonner?
You're gonna need new ductwork too.
Yeah.
That'll be another 20 grand.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You probably, if you're gonna do 5-ton, you probably should get the modulating equipment so that it could match the load once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get you guys access. I found my password. I gotta just find the link.
I sent it to you.
We found the password.
It's on this.
Oh, right
Here's the-
there, a bit.ly.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, thank you, Ted, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
I think